to Story and Song on this lovely afternoon. You're probably thinking, Donna, I should be out shooting. Yeah, absolutely. I'm Donna Paz Kaufman, so when my husband was up here earlier getting things ready, he said, Donna, and we both so it'll make for an interesting afternoon. Well, we are so happy that you are here. Story and Song is a place for conversation, connection, and community. And we call this the living room of the community because this was exactly what we had in mind, that we would come and get to know one another, enjoy life and the arts, and what a better way to relate, right, especially now. So this is the artist studio, and this began when we realized that we've been doing so much for the visual arts, the literary arts, the culinary arts, but for the visual arts, we just put the art up. And that was it. And then we take the art down, we put somebody else's art up. And we decided, no. We need to have conversation because there's so much about art that for those of us who don't have an art background, it's mysterious. How do artists see? What should I be seeing in that painting? What were they thinking? Or how do you do that, right? As we look at art. So I'm so happy to welcome Donna Lovely with all these beautiful credentials here. So Donna, my first question is really the beginning. So when you were younger, at some point something struck you about art or photography. Tell us about those early years and when you understood that you had a pull towards the arts.
Sorry, we're sharing today. We're having a little issue with the other one. Hello, everybody. Before I get into that, I just wanted to give a very, very warm, heartfelt thank you to Donna and to her husband, Mark, for allowing me and all the other artists to have an opportunity to exhibit and to be out here. It means a lot because I put my heart and soul, and you can ask my husband, a lot of my heart and soul into what I do and what I create, and to have a chance to share it with everybody, especially in an actual form versus just on a Instagram or whatnot. It means a lot. It really means a lot. So it's really fantastic to have that for all of us. And I'm not going to go too deep into the beginning, but it's some of it for sure. I did drawing and painting as a kid, and I did a picture of a Christmas scene when I was really young. And my dad, who has an artistic bone in his body, went, wow, we've got to get you lessons. I mean, he could see something in it. He then encouraged me to then take lessons. And so I started young, did all of that for many years. And then in college, I finally took a photography course, junior spring. So it was a little late to really change gears, but I've been doing fine arts all throughout. So I have a concentration of that. I was at Tufts University. And the very first basic darkroom class, where you're rolling your own film, doing the chemicals, super basic Pentax K1000, where it just has a meter for to know what you're doing. I mean, I had to learn. This is just not. I'm moving and it's not. Sorry, let me just hold it. Is that better? There we go. So it just allowed me to, or had me learn it from the beginning and really get to know the craft from the beginning and understand the camera itself and what to do. Having had lessons in drawing and painting and all those artistic compositional elements, having that as a background was fantastic for photography as yet another artistic form, to go in knowing composition, line, the rule of thirds, the importance of lighting, which in photography means you're writing with light. I mean, it's so important to have good lighting. And it could be catching the beginning of the day, the end of the day, all of that, and it can really add expression to it. But that very first class, I was going international relations. I was going to be an ambassador or do international business, or because I wanted to travel. That's what it came to. I wanted to travel so I could do this, so I could take photographs, so I could see the world and experience all that. And to be able to take photographs instead of drawing an image allowed me to see so much more, because I would spend all morning on a pen and ink of one image, of one scene. And that was great, but that's one image, and then I didn't get to see the rest of it either. And so then I could take pictures all day long and then work on them when I got home. When the weather wasn't perfect, or even when it was, I get it done. But I could do the post-processing at home. But I just fell for it the very first class. It just hit me. I'm like, this is it. I mean, even at the most basic level, it wasn't fancy schmancy, it wasn't easy. You're learning, you're in the dark, you're doing it with just this red light, and things go wrong, and you're dealing with chemicals, not the fun part, that kind of stuff. So it just really spoke to me, and then being able to travel and take the pictures while I traveled was great.
And how lovely that you had an opportunity to study in London. Talk a little bit about your time in Europe.
Right, so having just taken my first round of classes, my junior fall, I went away senior fall, I did a semester in London. And I had a great photography teacher, and to be able to take photos abroad and travel as much as I possibly could, and we even went to the Soviet Union in 1985, the week before Christmas. It was a tad cold. Not a lot of light because the sun comes up at 10:30 and sets at 3:30, and it snowed the whole time and whatnot, but it was phenomenal, and our teacher was with us, and just to be having all those fabulous architectural opportunities and all the fabulous things you can see, and to capture that, and then the different museums, and when it just was all inspiring. It was just fantastic. And then we lived in Cardiff, Wales for a year, and beautiful country. It's green. Part of me doesn't understand it because it rains all the time. I thought photosynthesis needed sun, but the green, the water worked a lot. But I was very fortunate, and I was able to use a darkroom on our son's school campus. They were switching over to digital, and I hadn't yet, and they had an empty darkroom. I had to buy the chemicals, the trays, and provide everything, but I had a place to go to work, because I couldn't take as many photos. And when the weather was good or decent or not raining a lot, I was out photographing, but then I had to process it and do it, and I was doing black and white pretty exclusively at that point. Now I do all of it, but color and black and white. So that saved me, because the rain was kind of, but it gave me the artistic outlet. But then I ended up, because of what my husband was doing, with starting up a company, we've got to know a lot of neat people, and I got to have a show at the Cardiff Castle, and the U.S. ambassador now has one of my photographs. And then I got a wonderful commission from a law firm there to show Cardiff as it was changing, because it was going through this whole renaissance, and bringing in new business was clutch, etc. And I wanted to see the perspective of a fresh eye, because I'm not from Cardiff, showing the changes and showing the beauty that was there that most people missed. It's, it's somewhat gritty, it's got a lot of beauty, but when you live anywhere, you stop looking after a while, and we're going to get more into that too. You stop looking. You go out, if you're from New York City, you stop seeing the phenomenal architecture and all those details and just all the different things that are there. But as somebody fresh or somebody visiting, that's what I bring to it, and I try to see things that other people perhaps miss, don't appreciate, don't stop to look at. A lot of people look, it's how do they see it? And I think that was something I've been doing ever since, for sure.
We take for granted that sense, don't we? And there was an author who came, and her book is called Scent, and she said, we also don't stop to smell. So if there's anything that I'm constantly reminded of in meeting with authors and artists, is to slow down and notice things. So there are a lot of us who take photos with our phones, or those old flash cameras, or those old Polaroids, or whatever. But we just pointing and clicking. We see something beautiful, right? We just want to capture that moment for later. Donna, talk about, you are a fine art photographer. You must see differently than the rest of us. So give us some insights to further our appreciation of the work of photographers and painters.
Right, as I say, I think having had some other artistic background helped. But I've always tried to see things, and I say there's looking and there's seeing. So you might go to a park and you're looking and you say, oh, that's nice or whatever. But I'm looking, I'm trying to see something. I'm trying to look for something to capture the beauty of it, whether it's a microcosm, it could be a phenomenal leaf or texture in a tree, or obviously a bird, or wonderful, here we have fabulous canopy. You'll see one of those, I've got a moss canopy from Fort Clinch that'll pop up at some point. So it's really stopping for a certain set, to take the picture, don't run through the picture, stop and take a few, and really look to see what makes this interesting. Is it interesting straight off? Is it interesting because it's framed by something? Is it the way the light's coming and it's hitting it? Is it because you've zoomed in or you've gotten the whole picture? There's S-curves, and those are very pleasing. So looking for something like that, or one-point perspective where it leads you down to a path, and that's drawing you in. So there's all those wonderful ways to look at something and to capture it, whether you're painting it or doing a photograph of it, to draw you in and in perspective. So there's all that I try to bring in and stop to see things. And my husband can attest, and other people that have traveled with me, they'll be like, what are you taking a picture of now? And I'll stop and say, this is the picture of the trip. And they just don't see it. And then later I show them, oh, okay. So it is sometimes really literally stopping or looking around or changing your perspective, going lower, going high, or going, what's over that wall? And I've done that where it's like, oh my God. And then it was just this row of phenomenal bright colored boats in Ireland that you couldn't see. But if you peeked over the wall and had a little, just interest and curiosity, it takes you to certain things. And, well, here, there was an arch there, and it's the light, and it's all about the light and capturing at different times. And whether it's, in your backyard, or seeing something really wild, this huge clock. And so it's just kind of seeing things and going, oh, but if I capture it like this, that really becomes interesting. And it's something more than just a prop. And that was actually a prop shop for movies and stuff. Capturing things quickly. Where we used to live, we get a lot of fog, but you really get fog in the snow. And that snow was gone within 5 minutes after the sun came up. I mean, it just disappeared, the snow and the fog. I was in a car. I was not out right next to the sun. One has to be careful. The moose, I had a nice long lens. But it's, it's scoping it out. It's getting low. It's waiting for the moment. It's waiting for all the drips to come off. So it's just zooming in. And if you're ever, I'll give you a little photo tip for anybody. Whenever you're shooting people or animals, make sure you get the closest eye in focus. If you don't get that closest eye, if somebody's head is turned, you don't want to get the second eye. You want to get this eye. Because if you don't, the shot won't be nearly as good. It won't be as strong. And that ram, that was like a marble, right? That had to be tack sharpened to work. Just like the hummingbird, had his eye over there on the wall. He had to be tack sharp. So it's seeing something like the one of the Boneyard Beach, the tall one on the middle. Shout out what you see. What, you guys see a horse? Anybody else? The top one that's vertical. Yeah, the black and white vertical. Yeah. Well, go and look at it later, but people will say different things. Everybody but one person sees something. Giraffe, horse, dragon, zebra, stuff. But one poor soul saw nothing at all. And that I felt bad for him.
It makes you wonder, was he anxious because you put him on the spot? Or inability to see something? Well, let's talk about black and white versus color. Ansel Adams, of course, is so well known for black and white photography. I'll never forget there was a book of Ansel Adams, and I was in some publishing meeting, and somebody said, imagine what that would look like if it were in color. So talk about the beauty in different colors, or the void of color.
Well, I think having cut my teeth, so to speak, with black and white, it really forced me to make sure it was a strong image, because the color wasn't going to carry it. There's certain images that work because of the color. There was one of two different foliage trees. One was red and one was yellow. It came up earlier. If that was in black and white, you'd be like, eh, because the color is that's all about, in the light. That one you need in color because you got to see the orange legs. But the black and white's got to be strong in all the elements of a good image. And it's the form, the composition, the line, the texture, the lead lines, all those things have to be there to make it strong. With Ansel Adams, and hopefully with my black and whites, hopefully they're strong, and if you added the color, it wouldn't make it better, it might even take it away, because color can also be distracting. It can pull away, you can, to a certain extent, where it distracts you to the core beauty or message of the image. Like this one in color would not be as strong. That's meant to be black and white. You know, it gets into the grittiness, it gets into the texture, it gets into the lead lines. And this one I shot in Ireland. Thankfully, she didn't know it stopped raining. And I shot it. Actually, I shot it in color, turned it into black and white, and then hand colored the umbrella. And it was red. I played with all sorts of colors. It had to be red. It still had to be red. It was definitely the strongest. But that had the lead lines. This would look both great black and white or color. You know, so certain ones, you know, again, the color is kind of important on that, I think. So I think some of it's the image itself, or the subject matter, and you know what's being captured. You know, looking at like the hummingbird. He needs the color, you know, because that green is something special in that one. And but then when you got Boneyard Beach and you've got those fabulous textures, it's very strong black and white.
You wouldn't see the drama.
Yeah,
with color.
There's a lot more drama with black and white and stuff.
So it's amazing to see how many exhibits you've been in, 125 with a bunch of other people. Get this, 40 one-woman shows. Wow. And that's all on a professional level. So there are probably others that you were in as well. So tell us what it's like to be, how do you get into these? How do you submit your work? How did you get known? And what is it like to be among a community of photographers at your level?
Well, kind of like when somebody says, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. It's somewhat like that. It's getting the word out, getting my portfolio out. In the beginning, it was a physical portfolio that you hand-delivered to the gallery or to the competition, and you left it, and then you had to pick it up, and you're like, I'm leaving my baby. And so it was getting that kind of word out. It was entering different shows just to have a chance to get in so that you could add it to your resume, because that all builds on itself. And then entering shows, and then being parts of arts groups that were putting together shows and whatnot. So it was that. Where we used to live in Bucks County, that area was very strong in the arts. So that was really helpful, and I was the head of the New Hope Art League for a while and in different groups. So it was literally putting together the shows, but I did that after. I mean, I'd been in many shows already, and then it was putting in the hard work on the backside too, so giving back so other artists could be part of it too. And there's a fabulous Phillips Mill Art Center there, and they do a photography-only show, and that was incredible to see the range of work. And it was a lot of it was local, but it came from all around the country. So it was basically just getting it out there, entering, getting in, not getting in, getting in, not getting in. What was really a lot of fun was that when I first decided, okay, I really want to switch jobs. I want to do photography full-time if I can. 2 of my pieces got into the Orlando Museum of Art's juried show. To get into a museum juried show was like, and I got 2 in my first try. I'm like, okay, that's the sign. I quit. I'm doing photography full-time now. And those 2 pieces are now in the Tampa Museum's permanent collection. One of them is in the Orlando Museum's permanent collection. I just got word today that another piece is going to be in the University of Richmond Art Museum. So that was this morning's email.
So you never know, right? You never know. Put your stuff out there. Well, it really is impressive, and I love the fact that you're now here on Amelia Island, and that many of these photos are from this beautiful place you get to call home. So talk about your life as a photographer now that you're here.
Well, I'm in heaven, totally in heaven, so many levels, and I was a little nervous about the whole moving away from New Hope in that area and stuff, and so that's why I'm so delighted you're here. And there's other places around, but it's got more than I thought, which has been great. And more to your point, I can roll out of bed, look out, go, oh, there's a photograph. There's a photograph. I mean, it's just beautiful. I live on the marsh, so we have beauty right out there. I can get to the beach. I can go to Fort Clinch. I can go down to Talbot Islands. There's so many beautiful places, and it just kind of depends. Is it foggy? I'm out there early. Fog is a thermal thing. It goes quickly, and it's not that often, but I'm out there for that. And the beginning and the end of the day is the most interesting in terms of light, as we all know, the golden hour, the blue hour, where you get the great colors and the warmth and the sunsets. And the bird life, and now it's really fun because a lot of these images are local. most of them, and a lot of have breeding plumage, and definitely look at them closely. So the egrets have the longer white feathers, and that's this time of year only. So it's getting out to find them, which is fun, and the great white egrets have a little bit of green by their bill. You look at, I think the guy, the tightrope walking one to the right of that lamp has that. And then the snowy egret to the left of the lamp, he's showing off and trying to get the ladies' attention, and he's got the breeding plumage going on. So it's getting out there to do that, and just walking and having my camera with me and keeping my eyes open.
And so, talk some about photographing people. I mean, this is a pretty big range here. We've got animals, birds, nature, still life. Is that something that you also do? Is take photos of people?
I have and I do. I tend to prefer everything you see here, probably more so, and travel photography. Truly, home in Italy. This is a really cool area if you've never been. So it's more that, but I love somebody really interesting, like a really older person. There was, a really cool guy in Greece that, I said, "Can I take your picture?" He spoke like coffee? That's all he knew. And that was his extent of his English, and my Greek is even less than that. So, I mean, it was a short conversation, but he understood that, but he couldn't have been better. And, met some really neat people doing that. So those are when I really enjoy it. So that is fun. I'm not much of a grab a picture off the street of somebody. I'm not a street person, photographer as much. I find that less comfortable. Sometimes if it's somebody really, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that. I gotta get a picture. But otherwise, I'm not as comfortable, quite frankly. So it's more finding beauty in all the other things.
And it's around us everywhere.
I've done plenty of headshots. I've done plenty of portraits. I mean, I've done all that. Oh yeah.
No wedding photos for you. This is lovely. I'm just amazed at the beauty in your pieces and the tenderness of some of the photos of the animals. Has anybody else picked that up? There's just that tenderness that you bring out of the eyes and those ears and those beautiful human or alive elements, and regardless of
Personality.
Living being. Yeah, personality. Okay, who's got a question for Donna? Yes.
What about lost?
What
I see
about-
nothing about
Where I cut my teeth on diving. Yeah, that goes way back. I do have I have a long panorama of Walden Pond, so I do have that. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I've just grown so much more since then. It wasn't my strongest work because I was literally I was fledgling then. So,
I doubt that.
but I'll have to go back and see if I've got anything, because that really goes back. That's negative work, so, yeah, back in the beginning.
Do you carry your camera everywhere? Because you turn left and you're like, ooh, what picture? Yeah. So you just carry it around?
Pretty
with you?
much,
Yeah?
pretty much. The camera I usually have is the one that's on the tripod that's videoing this right now. And I have a big enough purse that I can put that in when I need to.
There you go.
And then I've got a huge camera that I can't go hiking around in. It's, mega pounds. But yes, I try to almost all the time. So I'm really frustrated when there's that rare time I don't, and I only have my cell phone. And I've got the best cell phone camera that I can do, but it's,
Donna, real quick.
Yeah.
We know that Donna always has her phone with her. We were out at White Oak, it was raining, and Donna's sweet, three of us were in the car. She says, open up the top of your car. She goes and stands out the window, and she's taking pictures over at White Oak. I mean, who would ever, remember that? And we're like, we're gonna get arrested. So she's got that camera no matter where she
Yeah, that was
goes.
the camera, that was not the cell phone. I got this great rhinoceros picture from that and stuff. But we couldn't leave the road and stuff. So I was standing on the console, the little console, and Donna was a trooper. And Maureen's just making sure I don't fall out.
Or Donna's drop the camera.
Or drop the camera.
It was great.
So, when you go out shooting, I don't know anything about cameras, are you prepared to shoot black and white and or color at the same time?
Yes,
As the one
because,
that strikes you?
well, what in the old days, I'd have two identical cameras, and I'd have black and white film and color film. And that was a pain in the neck, literally and figuratively. So that was tricky. And because I also would do hand-colored black and whites, so I printed on a special kind of paper, and I would literally add color just to certain parts of the image and do that, but I needed a negative, black and white. Now, I can still do that, but I can do it, you shoot it in color, and this is about, anybody can do this. Always shoot in color. You're going to get more digital information on your digital negative in color. Then transfer it in black and white post-process, afterwards. You'll have, and make sure you've got a copy, so you've always got the original color. But then you'll have your black and white, and then you can add color to it if you've got Photoshop or different things, post-process later. But good question.
Good question.
Yes?
What animal do you find the most exhilarating to take a photo of or capture?
That's a good one. I've really gotten into the birds way more now being here. So getting an eagle or getting an owl has just been amazing. But I've got a soft spot for the horses. I've been a horse fanatic since I was a kid and stuff, so getting the horses. And the top one was a wild horse that was been broken by a cowboy at the ranch I was at. I was the photographer for a breast cancer survivors cattle drive retreat. And they had cattle that had these they were longhorn, and they were the world-class longhorn. 98 inches tip to tip was the largest guy. You didn't mess with him, and he got mad at me, and he charged. But the cowboy cowboy was just a horse whisperer and stuff. To watch him work the horse was just amazing.
So what, you have to tell us the rest of that story. They charged you and what happened?
Well, I was just hoping that fence was going to hold because I was on the other side of it. I'm like, if he wants to, he's coming through that thing. Thankfully, he was like, yeah, okay, she's not worth it, and he slowed down. But yeah, there's been a few times, as my husband will attest, like, oh my God, what has she done now? We were in Ireland, and there was a beautiful stone well in the middle of this little field. And there were cows on a back pasture, and there was a gate. I'm like, okay, the cows are no problem. So I opened the gate, it wasn't locked, took a picture of the well, turned around, they weren't female cows. They were bulls whose horns had been cut down, so you couldn't tell and stuff, and they started coming after me. You have never seen me move so fast. And it was thick muck and everything, and I got to that fence just in time and got through that gate, and I was like, and you know what? The real bummer of it, the picture wasn't that great. After all of that, it wasn't that great. But I did respect me with the 98 inches tip to tip. That one's okay. I got that one. But things I'll do for a picture.
Do you still do the processing with the
Black and white now.
You don't have to do that anymore?
No, thankfully I enjoyed the magic. That was part of what got me. The magic of seeing what looked like a blank piece of paper come up in the developer. That was what really added to the mystery and the excitement when I was doing black and white. But again, you're dealing with chemicals. Ansel Adams probably would have lived longer had he not been doing it, I think. I mean, there is some supposition that the chemicals, even if you're careful. But I wear gloves, I had tongues, I had ventilation, et cetera, et cetera. But and I waited a long time before I went digital because the quality in the beginning was not there. And it wasn't there for a good, 10 years. I mean, it took a long time. If you saw early digital stuff, I'm like, mm-mm. And then I had a really good camera store that these guys knew their stuff. I'm like, time yet? I said, nope. Because not only, the camera had to be really good, and then the print quality had to be really good, and you had to have the whole thing. So once I kind of got the seal of approval and everything looked like it was worthy, and I haven't looked back. I don't miss the smell. I don't miss having to lock myself in a dark room. And now I have a Lightroom. Adobe Lightroom, cleverly named, is the program I use the most, and so I can be in my office and work on a computer and stuff. I have a cute story, if you have a moment, about the darkroom. So we moved around a lot following Rich's career, and being a photographer worked out well because it was new places to photograph, new galleries to get into, new exhibitions and opportunities and things to do and clients, etc. But I also had to come up with a darkroom. And it was a closet here, and it was a bathroom, the guest bathroom that had to be a guest bathroom occasionally, and all that, and the rigmarole I went through. But when we had a house, the first time in Pennsylvania, we had a unfinished empty basement, and I got to design my own darkroom. So I had this big space, and I had lots of counters, good storage, 2 sinks, and I was in heaven. There was enough space that my daughter, who was about 3 years old, could be in there with me, because she wanted to be in there, don't open the door, because I'm in the middle of whatever, I don't want to ruin the whole picture. So I got a refrigerator box, cut a door into it,